Welcome to the lovely future humans and to those who are tuning in to the IHP podcast. And this is our first entry. If you're new, you don't know, but it is a 5D Mystics Skeptic Nutritionist Diary. Being yourself the smart way. So here's the equation. First, your child parts are all yours. Otherwise, you can't be yourself at all, as you're hiding them or you're bringing them out when they're doing shadow work. Tune into the other episode we had on emotionally intelligent minds and the intelligence of love. They thrive because you choose to be you, for you. I'm doing it all for myself, and that's myself and I. And then with a solo self that's whole and my child parts are all here, I get to say we in choir, in like meaning all together. I can show you the world. Yes, the 5D mystic, mindful, mindset, Maria mentor, content creator, podcast host world. I'm a human being who has magic. They call me Magic Mary now. I like that nickname, but I say, but I'm a 5D mystic. No, we like magic. Okay, 5D mystic, Magic Mary. But I'm not magical. I actually do know miracles, and then I know science and spirituality. They come together and unlock your authentic potential. Being yourself. When I said in the other one, we don't need laws, it doesn't mean we don't need laws. We have laws. I mean, anybody who's afraid that I could actually be hey, you know what? Let me make a wish. Okay, I made it. We'll find out if it happens, but that's not going to happen. I know God. He is really awesome. He gives all of his children the opportunity to do the thing called free will. So being yourself the smart way means you have your child parts. They are beautiful. So have you ever struggled with advice you didn't want, but maybe you needed it? Or you felt you clashed between doing things your way versus the right way for you? Let me ask you, okay? So if your child parts are alive, you're going to be smiling with me and you will relate to this journey. Like, I'm shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, whatever your name is, now when did you last let your heart decide? Always. Oh, she's always here. She's right here. No, you can't spank me. It's my body. No, I'm not. Nope. I said no. That's why the emotionally intelligent minds have the intelligence of love thriving through every inch of our bones, and I can open your eyes, take you wander by wander. You know what's nice is finding out that the ventral energy is in every person's body, and then what's sad is hearing Sadhguru tell us about those who re-traumatize themselves by cutting their limbs off. And they say that it's to live an intense life. And then what's even more sad is knowing of my Pinocchio Island friends and those who are also Peter Pans. And that's because those are adaptive child part people who, unlike what I'm reading to you right now, don't admit to themselves, yeah, I'm struggling with advice that is really the right thing for me. Okay, so it's not funny, but we're not going to use monsters. They're not monsters. These are human beings who let me ask you, when was the last time you let your heart decide? Their heart is not open yet. They don't have their first 3 years of life. I do. Okay, so I'm calling the approach. This is our first entry for the diary besides one of IHP episodes. So please bear with me if you're curious about the actual topic and the stories. But I need to complain, first of all, about my diet because that's my first entry. And so 365 minus 1. Yes, 364. That's my reframe. I'm going to count it down all the way, and you're going to count with me. So have fun with me. Let me see. I did open your eyes to wander and over, sideways, and under on a magic carpet. Right, I love Aladdin. Even though, like with Cusco, I changed the stories because they're all in shame. We're not. I'm not in shame. So, when Aladdin lies to Jasmine, the genie, his wisdom, says, you don't need to lie. She wants you for you. No. She wouldn't want, no, Aladdin. So this is what happens when people have the lack of self-awareness, accountability, regulation. I'm Maria, teenage boyfriend. I don't change. And then it continues. And to them, 45, I don't change. And I got confirmation from Dr. Daniel Siegel why I don't change. Maria never lost her sense of self. So she's all whole. So I still don't change. But those who say you don't change, then you must be some weirdo or you're fake. I've expanded, and I expand, and I became flexible. It's called a flexible, adaptive, coherent, energized, stable brain. It's called an integrated brain. That's why the flow state is easy for me, which is why I said, let me tell my community how there are things I complain about. Just not venting. Yesterday I used the word venting, and those who want to pick out words, We're not hypocrites. We just don't give a shit about how we use words. So if you're going to be nitpicky, you want to go somewhere else, because I don't use a dictionary and I fuck it up. And if you can't get the gist of it, in the other episode I said we don't need laws. What I meant is you don't need a law to tell you how to be yourself. You use yourself, but that's where I forget common sense. It's if you own the sense of self. So it's when you're your child parts and they're alive and you don't throw them on screen. Nope, you're Care Bears and Snow. Nope, no Snow White, excuse me. Where are you? Smurfs. I don't know why I was going to call you Snow. Smurfs, Care Bears, and we got Gargamel in a corner if you need a bad guy. Then we got Pinocchio's Island, where all the children stay that are our friends that decided, like my facade friend, that they're going to be morons. And we leave it alone, though. Not moron. I can be a moron, too. A whole new world, a new fantastic point of view. No one to tell us no. Now, doesn't this sound like a teenager? So, again, do you struggle with advice that you don't want to hear, but your 3-year-old is like, okay, come on, really? Are you really going to be stupid? That's why it's called being yourself the smart way. Moderation is key. And when we get this right, 5D Collective, maybe we won't have to be worried about, things that if they must, they must. But, at the end of the day, we'll find out. So no one to tell us no or where to go. Or say we're only daydreaming. Wow, dreaming, not daydreaming. Excuse me. Does anybody know what adaptive child part pseudo-live people do? They're emotionally unavailable. Let me give you a fun fact. I'm going to be keeping you here for a while, so you better sit down. There's a bunch of stories. This one is one that involves Fantasyland, and I had no attachment trauma education, and there is a reason why an empowered feminine knows, man, only I would have known. And God's like, yeah, Maria, and then you wouldn't be here, would you? No, God, no. But really, all these years, you have to complain? No, I'm not complaining. A whole new world, a dazzling place I never knew. Yes, but when I'm way up here, it's crystal clear that now I'm in a whole, I don't need you to be in a whole new world with you. I actually can. When I got Claire's, my God, the most amazing of days ever. Then when you meet the not empowered feminines, so they're not divines, they continue to do a lot of, just give me a minute, being yourself and knowing your child parts. This means you don't need Terry Real, you don't need Patrick Tan. I need you to understand there's bad resilience out there, and it's unfortunate, but it has a solution. Dr. Amy Apigan. Tune in to Emotionally Intelligent Minds and the Intelligence of Love Thrive, because you choose to be you for you, and you'll understand some of what I'm talking about. If you're new. If you're not new, then you already know. Unbelievable sights. Indescribable feeling. Yes, that is definitely it when you've consistently learned how to maintain a high with open-ended inquiry, which is why the inner growth mindset works. When, on the other hand, you suffer like a Zen master who has laundry, that's called temporal junction. And it's highs and lows of what Tara Brach will say, amygdala. No, she'll show you your brain's not integrated yet, and you're in that which is the biochemistry of fear. So when people don't understand that unhealthy fear is their self-righteous, contemptuous baton with their brokenheartedness, and that when I hear them talk to me about monsters, I'm like, yeah, your house was full of monsters. Mine wasn't. You see, I'm a twin, and my twin and I fight like cats and dogs still to this day, but I'm the bossy one. You see what I'm saying? So I'm like, ha, you can't disown me. And that's how it works, and that's it. And so, at the end of the day, self-reflection. Do I feel guilty? No. Do I feel ashamed? No. I put up with her. She puts up with me. What is up with this? Doesn't anybody know what unconditional love is? It's called that I have flaws, and so do you. I'm not ashamed. And, felt a little bit of guilt when I was like, hey, God, so listen, the cloak people, they hurt children physically, emotionally, mentally, and grown-ups too. They're keeping us divided, and there's no Lucifer. So I'm out, not because I want to be done with them. I have good Christian Catholic upbringing, but they somehow, I don't even know what to say. The reality is I'm so upset. They're not taking the Dalai Lama's call. There's a bunch of them that are divisive with words. They don't understand that teachings, words, and stories change over time, and we're not speaking Shakespeare anymore. But somehow they've got it in their mind. No, they have 3D, 4D people who are with them, supporting the likes and dislikes. So they think polyamory are whores. We're not. They think we don't know what love is. We do know what love is. It's in fact called I'm securely attached and non-traumatized, to the point of where polyamory or monoamory don't matter. You just don't do, poly enough. That's not poly anything. That's just a person who now took a word and says polyamory just because it's a word. But there's no amore, because amore means I want you to be happy in life, with or without me. Yes, and that doesn't mean I'm going to look to the past and think I want you to get my sweet revenge. Nope, that is not what happens if you are a Being yourself means you have your child parts. If you have shadow parts and self-righteous, contemptuous stuff and brokenness, that's where Patrick Tian and Terry Real are needed. In this case, a person who's whole, securely attached, non-traumatized, self-led person. Let me use human words so you can understand this. There's never one moment where you think, I want my sweet revenge. You know why? It isn't a fake thing. Well, for me, Jesus, God, Holy Spirit. But besides that, it's called a clear conscious. Any grown-up becomes a full-blown grown-up only if they have all their child parts, which means that they have the sense of self. When you own it, you own a body that uses its ventral vagal state. Because you own it, it's called compassion, humanity within. I need to explain it because there are people here who will hang around and they're not compassionate. No, they have a little, even if it's only 1 little inch of your child part that you haven't healed, something that you haven't forgiven, is going to come up. And if you lack the self-awareness and you don't care to keep your word, meaning have integrity, you're going to allow yourself to justify that little pokety poke and tell yourself in some way, shape, or form that you have a right to blah, blah, blah. So while I am very much a person who doesn't know everything, but I confidently share with you my stories, I will tell you there's no harboring resentment, because that's actually you being a liar. You don't love, you're hurt. And your hurt means you didn't process it, which means you still need to sit with yourself and all of those who will hug you. And however long it takes until you can achieve that which is enlightenment people, those who are in the soul age group, learn detachment. We're not in the absence of feelings, just so you're understanding. We're full of life for a reason. It's called your ventral vagal state. And restorative embodiment. Self-aware, accountable, regulating people, like a Peter Levine, who when he speaks of any human being, or Bezel van der Kolk, or Dr. Daniel Siegel, or even Dr. Daniel Fox, you can tell they know what people are made from. And when someone wants to use the words lack of imagination for evil, they can actually go screw themselves. They're a liar. And I can tell that within their body is a big, big, big stone wall. And I'm so sorry for the human being that they were, because none of it will come through. But I'm sure they will lead those who will be just as cold, rigid, and fakos to that path. Because when you tell me that if I look away, your confidence is eroded, I now know your weak spot, which is every single person out there, because you don't have confidence. You didn't own anything. You're just wearing a suit. That means what? That person has shame, defectiveness, and attachment science can heal it. There's a beautiful woman out there. She too thinks she's all amazing and stuff. And she is the leader of the pack for those who also don't want to be here in the I have a child that lives. In fact, one of her most recent was how some people, they don't want to bring closure. And as she's speaking these words, you can tell that there's a 16-year-old in there thinking they're badass and that they won. And in the meantime, I'm perceiving the 3-year-old who was scared shitless, and some shit went down. And I'm like, wow, that's awful. You're not a monster. You're not even a leader. You're just a leader for the pack of the people who are on Pinocchio's island who will actually fall for this shit because their brain is like, yeah, because that's how adaptive children work. A grown-up, no, a child's version of what a grown-up coulda, shoulda, woulda done with harboring self-righteous, contemptuous shit that has everything to do with having a possibility to protect themselves. So as a child, I honor that child. That's why you don't talk shit about these people. I honor the child, not the grown-up. The grown-up version is a buffoon to me the minute that they want to just go and pick on people with their little words. It's also why let's not waste time on them anymore. Let me continue. A whole new world with new horizons to pursue. Yes, I'll chase them anywhere. There's time to spare. You don't have to chase them. You just can walk to them. Let me share a whole new world with you and a thrilling chase, a wondrous place. So when you're in your ventral vagal state, it's consistently a very thrilling place. So being yourself the smart way. The flow state, you don't do it by yourself. You do it by being able to sit with that which makes you mad, sad, and afraid. That's why it's not a short term or long term. It's a actual your life. You know, it's amazing is that attachment science. All you need is them. You don't even need the spiritual ones of us, but we'll be around, don't worry. There's no plans of us to go anywhere, although Lucifer is a monster that is no longer, because science proves what's in the embodied brain of a person. So like we talk about Zeus and, you know, Apollo and whatever, all those other stories, the ones who were, which ones were the ones who were shoved, Kronos, I forget the words, but my point is, just because that which is a monster that is no longer, there's a reason. So the ones who want to stay stuck in 4D bandwidth, they're just mean, I didn't think they would actually stick around, but they are. So they don't own their child parts. They own broken child parts and a lot more, but they are coming up with the most amazing of stories, which I appreciate because they actually share with us things. So let's always remember God is good, Akash source. Everyone has a place in the kingdom of God, and some will have heaven in the body and some won't, because they're going to follow the man and woman on suit, and not only those two. There's a bountiful of them that make up excuses. My Pinocchio Island friends, I mean, they just basically are brilliant like those people, and they won't be their full potential, but they're brilliant and beautiful. And I know some people think, no, they're not. No, they are. So you don't tell somebody what they can achieve. They choose for themselves. God doesn't interfere with your life. You have free will. And Robert Sapolsky, with his book Determined, he's pretty spot on, because what I have noticed is that science, neuroscience, neurobiology is spot on. You don't own your child parts. You don't know them. They're not with you, and you're not loving yourself first. You're not even halfway to where you could be. So being yourself, it's not an actual... As now I've noticed a lot more people are figuring it out. It's your child parts, you've honored yourself, and or you never got broken. And then you know that we can all complain. But really, we don't need to complain in the way of suffering, Zen master. Get out of your laundry, Zen master. Wow, you took on a title and you don't even know how to do your prefrontal cortex yet. So when you are going to be yourself the smart way, it means blending science and spirituality. That's what I get to do with this lovely first diary entry. Really good. I had a nice day. I'm doing pretty good with my time. A little bit of a pain in the ass having to wake up and schedule everything, but I think it'll help me to remember. Because unlike the people who just talk about the island, no, was it a planet? I don't know, angels, children angel planet. I was like, you know what? I think I belong to that planet too. And so she mentions how these groups of angels, we're all angels, by the way, but these groups of angels from the galactic wherever, and I'm a galactic being, I've known all of these things, but I'm just going to, again, treat it the way that is. I honor it all, but it's all in here. Bring it all in. It's all true. The monsters, they can be true, but again, it's not true. There's no, you know what? If you need to have a Lucifer, he's like a little tiny shitty thing like this, okay? Oh, don't get mad. You don't exist, so get over it. Yeah, sometimes, you know, it's like, what was his name from the Aladdin? Jafar. Yeah, you're a little Jafar, itty bitty little space. I'm like the big genie. No, I'm a smart genie. No, I'm not a genie. Oh, anybody remember the genie? The one, there's a show with the genie. Okay, so I love Thomas Campbell. That's why he's amazing. This is a physicist. He's like, you know, everybody needs to make sense of something. That's how the brain makes sense of it. I'm grounded in reality, but I do believe in God and in mysticism because I believe it in my bones. And that's why we're woo pseudoscience. So what happens when a mystic comes out? Nothing. Did you feel all alone? No, actually, no. I met someone who did. They actually chose to give up their superpowers because their family, you brought us bad luck. When I got told, you brought us bad luck, I told you would get caught because you're smoking in the bathroom. You got caught. I didn't bring you bad luck. You brought me bad luck. I told you would get caught because you're skipping school. That's not something you're supposed to do. And what do you think? It's a small world. You're not going to get caught. I'm sorry. You don't know how it works. You, again, no, I gave you good advice. You just didn't want to listen to it. So is it really me? This is how it works when you're like, there's one Waldo, there's another Waldo, there's being yourself the smart way. Does anybody ever get away with a lie? No, except for when Pacha and Cusco. So Aladdin, at the end of it all, the genie was right. Jasmine gets fucking pissed at him. Why'd you bullshit me? Who gives a shit about your little fancy hat, dude? Just be you. So like my facade friend and like a lot of other people, what I'm going to tell you, authenticity. We don't no, nobody needs a shitty pat on the back. Please give it up. Because you know how you're motivated, by the way, which is from you wanting to share life, meaning connection with others. So when you have people who are on Pinocchio Island, it's none of our business because it isn't something straightforward. And if you don't notice, Bezel van der Kolk has mentioned, like all the others, you don't talk sense to anyone. And I know because you can't talk sense to me. I will not be convinced of something. I will be making choices. It's why I said if you've ever struggled in the diary with advice that you didn't want, but maybe you needed, and really you don't need to look at it as advice. It's just common sense. But It's your way versus, the right way. You're going to want to do the right way if you're being yourself smart. So science, spirituality come together. That's because they are all proving just be yourself. Working with professionals who care, they're not telling you to not go to modern day therapists. So when you find a spiritual bypasser who's telling you they can heal your trauma, no, we don't heal your trauma. Your trauma charges are coming forth. You want to make sure to get EMDR, child part 6 somatics, as you got bad behaviors. And the bad behaviors are bad because they're unhealthy. And sometimes they're so unhealthy that you don't even notice that they're happening. Physiological states. So people who didn't want this information, I've given it to them, they continue to live in a life of suffering inside their bodies. Yet their mouth wanders. And then they continue to read the same material that I present to you, and their mouth wanders. Yet their body is in the bad resilience that Dr. Amy Pegan points out, which is why they're not being their self with their child parts, and they don't have a good story. In fact, at this point, I have a very sad story, which I won't be sharing because it's private, and I know exactly how I could be someone who would say, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's a plate, here's the answers. But that's not how it works, because that's just how it does not work. Free will, and then people being interested in that which is information about being yourself. Neuroscience, neurobiology, it's a pretty good field. I mean, I got to be learned in it the last 5 years, and I'm continuing, plus quantum physics, plus all of it. But I know that they have been doing their research for eons at this point. So what I always pause to reflect upon as I think, wow, it's only been 5, probably going around 6, at some point 7 and 8 and 9. These people were already doing research when I was in college. I'm 45. So the college students that were fucking and miserable and doing psychology as their master's degree were bullshit. Oh, wait a minute. They were in fraternities and sororities where they were doing bullshit shit. And I just thought nothing because I was too busy building my own stuff to notice. But wait, they were therapists again, helping people. Are those professionals who care, or are those just people who use their mouths, that are adaptive child part people who haven't saved themselves yet, and then they're going to go around saying, here's my one stop fits all, and then they come and ruin my classes for me because they come and ask questions that are completely visible. There's no shortcuts to integration. There's no shortcut. It works a certain way. Yes, we know of miracles. No shortcut again. So are you done actually trying to get it your way versus hear the expert who's explaining to you how it works? And here's where my joke was from my cousin Vinny. Anybody watch it? So my cousin Vinny, there's what's his face, the lawyer, Joe Pesci, and he's finally figured out how to voir dire, or whatever the word is. Finally, he's amazing when you see it. So he's asking this guy that tells him it took him 5 minutes to cook grits or something like that. It's like, wow, so what was it, instant grits? And he's like, no respectable Southerner will cook instant grits. And here's where the whole words, okay, respectable. Respectable to me would mean you use 2 sides of the brain. That's how I feel about it. Oh, I'm a healthy perfectionist. So for me, if you're going to talk about any word, then make sure that you can keep up with it and use 2 sides of the brain versus think that your brain can fall out of your asshole, because that's how people who don't have a bilaterally, vertically, and overall integrated brain and don't know how to just learn to read and get the gist of it and keep moving forward. Flexibility. It's not like you taking in 100 pages, memorizing it, and then just regurgitating it means that you learned shit. You got some information. You can present to me a timeline, really accurate. You know how boring that is? Oh my God, I need to go. But it is important. It is important. So please, we all serve a purpose. I just know that that is not my cup of tea. So that's why, brothers and sisters, we're all needed. None of us are more special than others, because I can't do what regurgitation of material people can do, and we need them. Otherwise, how are our stories going to stay alive when the paper is gone? When the paper's gone, we need them. That's why they're digital now. That way they can be conserved for the rest of whoever knows, wherever we're going to go. We're going to get off the planet. We're going to have to. So it's really nice. I know Akash. I'm an Akashic record reader. And so there's that. Being yourself. Child parts right here. It's really fun. And from a mystic perspective, and that which is God, Jesus, communion, all that, Holy Spirit, I just think, wow. I mean, I knew that I had wished that I would have magical powers, but come on. This is not magical powers. This is spiritual stuff. And I love how the scientists, they keep on wanting to try and figure everything out. Sure, virtual reality. Yeah, keep on coming out. Yeah, keep doing the math. We like the math. The math adds to our play. The storytellers, they add. Every eon, we get new storytellers. Then we keep bringing all the other stuff too. So it's really fun. And the ones who are like, blasphemy, Luciferian era. No, Pinocchio, maybe Pinocchio era. We'll find out how many stay on Pinocchio's island out of the 3D, 4D, and how many join us in the... they did say that there would be the separation. I just didn't think that it would be this way. Because, Pinocchio's island might be fun, but only for a short time. And it's not an island that people are living on. They're in real life. So, working with professionals who care, the ones who pay attention to your inner and outer dialogue, and you pay attention to your inner and outer dialogue. And so that's where you remember there's not a one size fits all, and being yourself, living your best life. It is actually when you are, again, I don't track every meal or drink, that's not the point of the series, but it will be about the reflection. So how do I feel about my first day? I feel good. No, I feel pretty good. So it's just going to be a pain in the ass, but it's good. It's not as bad as my brain made it sound to be. And how do I think? I think that I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait a little bit longer to see what happens. But the point of this mixed entry 1 and also the topic is that when you are yourself with your child parts, you are a sense of self that will use the word like we. And at least that's answers that I got. I was wondering why I would say we. No, I knew I was saying we because I'm a twin. But then when I found out when you have all these child parts, you're always aware of them. Well, not always, but you'll be aware of them once you be given information. And that's where people are like, so you're letting people influence you. And it'll be like, I was saying we before I got the attachment trauma education, which is why I thought it was about my twin. Then I became a mystic with Claire's, and I thought it was all the guides that are always with me, and Jesus and God and all of that. And now I know that it can be pretty much all of it. And that's why does anybody realize a whole new world? You don't prove shit about yourself. You talk about shit with people. So nobody is proving if you're just having a good time as you engage with life as who you are. Okay, and that's why I don't have any of that shame stuff. I'm shame-free because my mother taught me it's okay to be a child. That's how it works. And I have a twin, so I got to play. So I don't have any of shame because when I get rejected at 4 and at 8, those are called experiences. And the 4-year-old, my mother told me the story. The 8-year-old, I remember. And then I remember being told the truth, which I'm sure made me say, you can't disown me. You can't touch me. I'll go rat you out. So you can't touch me. Because my sister, every now and then, my twin would be like, if I could, I would punch you. You can't. You can't, because I'll rat you out. Because my mother taught us how not to use hands. Only people who don't know how to use their brain use their hands. And that's very not good. Meaning they're stupid, not strong, stupid. And in fact, today, when someone gets angry, and they don't know how to handle themselves, that's not a person who owns their body. But what you also want to know is if they're angry and bad resilience, that's still not good because it's all lying beneath the surface. So when people lie to themselves and they ignore their child parts, like a bunch of people who I'm seeing talk about trauma stuff, but they don't know that they still have it. This is what healing is like. No. Healing with a mindful mindset mentor, content creator, podcast is you're not healing. You're actually now in your embodied brain. If you want to heal, then you go to therapy. You get the transformative experience, and now you know how to continue doing the rest. So I'm organizing it for people because while for me the information was it's only been about 5 years at this point or however long, I know that the researchers and therapists have been around for longer. And finally, there's enough of them that do believe in the great ones. Thank goodness, there must be a reason. Yes, it works. That's the reason. So when neuroscience and neurobiology with the flow state is proven to work, now everybody's going to be jumping on the being yourself. The point is, do you be yourself with your child parts? So first you own the child parts. Once you're able to consistently be your grown-up version. And Patrick Tiahan points out it's a very long journey because sometimes there are people who will decide that they don't want to talk to their families, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that because they realize that half their life was spent basically wasted. And then they also realized that if they ever did anything they were ashamed of, anything, any small little thing or big thing, they actually have a culprit. So that's why I respect those who are going to go heal with Patrick Tiahan. I don't need to forgive because I'm already on that other end of the spectrum. I have my child parts. They weren't broken. They're all whole. And if I say no, fine, I'm going to do it my way. So basically you have the capacity to be an angry child. You see what I'm saying? That's why it's my first diary entry. It's like I said no, I pouted, I let it all out, and today I can say it's not that big of a deal. That's how it works. So emotionally intelligent minds and the intelligence of love thrive because you choose to be you for you. So you don't do things for other people, but then again, you also do things for other people. So people will interpret being yourself and all IHP content like other content that tells people to be compassionate, being yourself, as selfish. And that is where we don't care about superficial people, because superficial people jump to conclusions and they also talk over you. And that's why they're adaptive child parts for the rest of their life, like my facade friend. They are going to continue to think they're right, which makes them adaptive child part people. They're going to continue to ignore if they struggle for good advice, meaning they don't want to hear it. And that's why Patrick Tiahan, I respect and honor him. And I don't think we will ever necessarily meet because, again, I'm able to say I can handle emotionally immature people like the back of my hand. And I do plan on always doing it because God told me so through Jesus, Holy Spirit, and because it is the right thing to do since I never walked one day in your body. And I'm not made to feel helpless when you get into your shadow work, your dark sides, whatever it is, it don't matter. It's not personal, said a teenager to me, whoever it was. I was like, you're right, it's not personal. That's how easy it was for me to realize that my heart gets broken, it's not broken. It's a muscle, and it just got sad. And it's called because we didn't bond. But guess what? I don't want to bond with a human being who's a fucking asshole. There's no point. That's why it's so easy. Out, 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 out. That's how fast it goes when I am with a person who doesn't treat me right. That's fine. You think you're going to... That you don't understand how it works. You don't treat anyone not right, especially not myself, because I don't treat you wrong, but really it's because it's called common courtesy. So when people want to excuse their moods and excuse their adaptive child part, I mean, I'm so used to it. Like I said, it's really nothing except for human beings. The ones who are still so sensitive to them could do something called go to Patrick Chan. But that's why he doesn't do you can forgive people. But that's because he's talking to people who need him for that. He needs to be able to let them know you can be angry because you have a right to be angry, especially when you figure out that you were denied a childhood. I can only imagine I can't. I can only speak of, I can only imagine. I can't imagine what it's like to feel that I have monsters in my head, feeling completely freaked out at having a close relationship, like completely in way. I don't know what it's like because I have no problem actually being Maria and saying, there's a door, Eric. I got a tail. What do you want? I'm a mystic. I'm polyamory. I'm a mystic. I'm a human being who has a lot of fun with stories. I don't have words. I do healthy things, like it's just so, I remember a friend of mine, I started to go out by the time I was 20-ish. It was after I was done with high school, so I could go out. I had some money, and he's like, wow, now you've become fun, Maria. I'm like, I was fun before. No, now you drink a little and you do a little. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And moderation is good, but saying, you drink, that's not, you shouldn't want me to drink. Shouldn't want me to smoke. You shouldn't say this is where it's not about us all having to not do any of the stuff that, but at the same time, would I ever had smoked had I never gotten a cigarette in my mouth? No. So I'm not about the all or nothing because I realize and recognize that one, it's something that we do have present. But for example, I'll say when they allowed for all of us to not be able to smoke in locations that are closed, I like to be able to smoke in closed locations because it gets cold outside. But did I notice a difference with me not having to go home after a disco night with clothes that didn't smell like smoke? Yeah, I did notice a difference. Okay, so I'm just saying, like, if laws, in this case, like physical laws, are the only way to get people to do that which is healthy. Now, other people talk about conspiracies and a bunch more and control. The system's trying to control me. The system doesn't try to control you. Tries to educate you, at least some of them. Others don't. They try to actually manipulate the information, and they're not all spot on either. So when I see anything on YouTube, I'm always like, okay, let's take it with a grain of salt. Let's remember that scientists learn through studies over time. Let's remember that our ancestors already knew balanced lifestyle. So what they have shared with us is usually going to match up. But science is going to show some things, refined details that the simply put, the eyes that couldn't see within us didn't know. So it's always you balancing out with common sense. You being able to be yourself the smart way means you having your, again, child parts. So being yourself with child parts means that no matter what is going on, you're not upset at what you hear. You hear what you hear. You're a grown up. That's why you don't need Patrick Tian also, because you're not thinking anyone's going to impose, and you're not feeling imposed upon. You're also not feeling that you need vindication or that something's unfair or that you need. So that's where the self-righteous, contemptuous batons are at. So while I get irritated with people, but beyond the bejesus of me, all the time, I'm not angry at them in a way of vindictiveness, because there's no vindictiveness. I use a little hate box for two people, and I said, hey, God, I'll get them out of the hate box when I'm done being angry at them. And then eventually I did. And so when people say, so you did hate. No, they were in a box. But some people, but you did. You just want to deny it. So this is why when people are actually in each other's business, they're trying to put you in the same box that they are. It's called that they don't like that you're wanting to explain something as a differentiated self. They want to be non-differentiated, and that just means that they want to feel that they are the exact same as you and you're the exact same as them. And that's something that a 3-year-old who's differentiated is like, no, are you done? I'm going to use a different word because I want to. Does that make sense? And so and that's why we have fun with it. By the way, we all have personality patterns and temperament. So you have fun with it, because that's exactly, they could be right. Well, I could be right. We could all be right. And then we could all be wrong. Is it really that big of a deal? But it's fun to do these types of personal growth, spiritual growth practices together. That's why it's going to be fun with our IHP collective. Yeah, I have plans for our 8th and 9th chakra expansion and group work together with our feelings, because this is fun when you have your child parts. Like when the anger thing came up, I was told, you have a right to be angry. I'm like, yes, but I also have the common sense to know how to process it and contemplate it, which is why it's fun to actually do with groups. We get to play roles, but it's with healthy groups. So it's not teenagers who are just pretending to be healed. And that's not something we're going to talk about right now. If you burn bright enough, your limitations will go away. There's no other solution. Life has to be lit, not settled. Thank you, Sadhguru. And as he also points out, let me share with you, there were a couple quotes the other day. Our presence here is just for a short period of time. We do not have to shorten it by fighting each other. Definitely. That would be nice. There is nothing else to do here except live. The only choice you have is to live either superficially or profoundly. We live profoundly as our true selves with our child parts, because there's no shame. If you treat your tools, including your own body and mind, with reverence, every activity is a joyful and fruitful process. It's not only treating them like reverence, this is you navigating your nervous system. So again, it's the body that is in connection. And so you do have that which is called self-compassion towards yourself, and you then know how to work with all of that which is good feelings, because you don't know how to work with all your feelings if your emotional body wasn't reconnected. Which is why when you're seeing people project their childhood trauma, Patrick Tian does a really great job at sharing how this works. He says, we can sometimes feel pain, cynicism, and negativity when we see children receiving a healthy childhood. And he goes on to describe. So he says, this symptom makes one feel ashamed of having such feelings, but it's common in childhood trauma. What it looks like. He says, balking at what you might perceive to be coddling. charged emotions around fairness, like seeing a toddler getting their way at a restaurant, which I've heard plenty of grown-ups complain about and not know that that's a symptom of childhood trauma with themselves. Oh, so I'm the one who has misconception on how a child-centric environment is. Yes, there's a child. They're emotionally immature. You don't have to scare them to shits because you think you're being upsetting to the restaurant people around you. While all of us can be annoyed by the kid on the plane and the kid in the restaurant, I appreciate seeing those who know how to allow their kid to be a kid, and that's because of also being all attachment trauma educated. While a story I didn't finish telling you in our other episode, I don't appreciate that. I actually know why the kid is a bully, and it is because, very clear, if you're making them walk in the cold, -2 degrees, following them from far, far, far away, yeah, you just traumatize them again because you put them in a most physically dangerous situation. They're emotionally immature. You think you're strengthening them. They're not strong yet. And you just weaken them. Or basically, we get to watch as they become an even bigger bully. And at some point, oh, look, we have bad people. Really, do we? I think we have traumatized people. It's a very different story. And then I think the bad people are the ones who are ignoring all of the data that points to exactly how the embodied brain, neuroscience, neurobiology works. If I want to play with words, I can play with them too. Point is, you don't convince people who are rejecting by a mile all of that, which is the trauma therapist. I've even seen the 4D talk about they're caging us up with anxiety and depression. They use technical words because they're doctors who are in medicine school or whatever. You're a spiritual human being who just doesn't like the word anxiety or depression because what? Oh, is it the pharmaceutical conspiracy? Which one of the conspiracies are you behind, 4D person? Is that's exactly why I'm like, okay, yeah, we know there's stuff that doesn't go well, but the words of depression and anxiety are not caging anyone up. They're explaining things. So this is the part of why people who are within the 3D 4D bandwidth, they are beneath the neutrality belt. They're not using a prefrontal. They're choosing what they like and don't like, and then they're dressing it up like teenagers do with, this is a cage. A cage would actually be cage. But charged emotions at recognizing development. You made your lunch at 6 years old. Why can't they? So people who will want their kids or kids to be able to make a sandwich at 6 while they're kids. Seeing children having it so easy. Seeing families be child-centric. When you grew up in adult-centric, the adults came first. And he says, why does this bother us? Inner children, whether we like to admit it or not, he says, keep score and are rooted in fairness. They watch, and we often have an overdeveloped sense of fairness. We can also unconsciously reiterate abusive family values, such as children shouldn't be allowed that much disruption or saying in things. So they don't want kids to have a say in it. Or everyone sinks or swims, figure it out, kid. Due to this, he says, we can get into power struggles and irritation about how we see kids getting parented, ours or otherwise. And he says, just know you're not alone, but that is a sign that you didn't get what you needed. I'm not saying some children aren't coddled. This is Patrick as he shares his perspective, remember. And I am, here I am, or infantilized, but given how we were all raised, we are not exactly experts on what defines healthy, child-focused, developmentally appropriate parenting. I agree with him because, again, I see people thinking that there's ways of handling kids. I'm not a parent, but that is completely not in the middle. And it's kids like humans, like every adult. It's not a one-size-fits-all, which is also why people chiming in on every single bit of parenting, it's unnecessary. But being able to identify, so for me, I know that children will be children and therefore they have a say, and they also need the no's and the rights. So it's this is why it's not a perfect, it's a third attunement, repairing ruptures so that they don't stay in shame defectiveness, and then knowing that a little bit of, yes, putting the nervous system into I think what they were saying is having the kid cry a little bit. So yes, they need a little of that exposure because otherwise the nervous system doesn't know what it can or can't handle. Again, not a perfect one-size-fits-all. So professionals who care about what they do, if it comes to personal development, spiritual growth, mystics and or mentors, then they would know attachment science at this point. They would also know to make sure that you have your child parts, because if you don't, then that's number one, you want EMDR child parts work somatic so that you can get to do the good resilience. Because that's what you do with personal and spiritual growth. That's what you do with a journey that is one that says, I'm going to help you become a better version of yourself. Now, if you need to self-improve to the point of where you don't have a self yet, you go and reclaim yourself, and you get to have someone like Patrick Tian and the signs. And so you don't walk around with shame for the rest of your life, pretending like those fancy women, men in suit that I see who don't know what it's like to be their full-blown grown-up, and they're giving bad advice to people. But those people are taking it because they don't want to get their emotional body back online, and they immediately, like these Pinocchio Island friends, are like, oh, doing great with our very dysregulated patterns. We like it, and you're the boring one. And I'm like, yep, sure I am. 45, and nope, I'm not boring. And any of those who do know what life is made of will also be moderation, everything. So we may not like some of the things that we have to do, but that's because it's just, like Hippocrates points out, discipline. But like he also points out, everyone says they want to heal until discipline, but a wise man will know that good health is one of the biggest riches of all. So if you care about others, it's because you cared about yourself, you see? So when you meet those who don't understand that solo self doesn't care about another, can't have room for me, mentally, emotionally, or physically, because you can't get up, because you can't physically, emotionally, and mentally survive in a re-energizing way when you're doing bad resilience. And so as Dr. Amy Apigan points out, and a lot more, you can change your health, your diet, all of it. It won't matter if your body is not using the eustress. So you first get to learn how to navigate your body in that which is a ventral vagal state, then everything else, that which we do here, and the flow state. How do you get there? Because you keep doing it, not, I want then, I want it now. Which is exactly why I get to complain about the diet. But I probably won't complain too much. I'll just be making funny stories and more. So a whole new world, the magic place you'll never, yes, you will. So we might have some more stories, because this is where Mystic Magic Maria has a place that I come from, and I thought that we should talk about it. No, not that, but we have some themes going on, so we might be back with more. It might be a late IHP show. In the meantime, the perfect trio to being you: self-reflection, visualization podcasts like these ones. I don't give you visual in these ones, but visualization means where we can talk through a feeling, talk through a thought, okay, and mindful meditation practices. The paid subscribers. Right now we're working with anger, and I haven't added to our series, but that's because I need to first finish up our 8th and 9th chakra, which is what we're expanding. Being yourself, again, is knowing your child parts. I welcome all people, of course, everyone, but you need to understand forgiveness and love from your heart. It's not something you force upon yourself. It's something that an emotionally intelligent mind will hold, and that's because you also have the intelligence of love. And it's because you chose to be you for you. You didn't do it for me. You didn't do it for society. You didn't do it for... You did it for you. Do you know why? Because you became self-aware, and you noticed accountability, and my lovely nervous system are mine. So I met this number of people online, not in person, one of which she's a psychopath, and she's healing. And she explains why she went. She said, I noticed that I wasn't building any good relationships. And then I noticed that I kept getting myself into situations that were pretty fucking dangerous. She doesn't curse, I'm cursing. And so she said, I realized, and I forget how old she was, that if I continued down this path, I would not actually build a life that is, and I'm paraphrasing, okay? But she's like, I realized that I wasn't building a life worth living, meaning connections. We're humans. Being able to enjoy life, okay? So she did it because she noticed it. And that's the one thing. You can't convince a person that they need help, because nobody needs help. They can get up. Pinocchio's island is bountiful. It's not Luciferian, and it's not a Lucifer. It ain't a monster. It's called family in the head. The monsters came from somewhere much closer. Your home, your environment. You don't need to be pointing a finger. I get it. But the point is, like Patrick Chan points out, you don't have a child-centric environment. The signs are clear. Hostile, doomsday, do, or the are we good and the ghosts, or something like that. I don't know if it's the are we good. I can spot them like a hawk. It's not funny, and people actually think I'm too serious. Still, I was 4. I got sent home because I wanted to sit all the boys and girls down and read to them. And I'm okay with that. I like reading. I don't want to go on your motorcycle or your car, especially if you don't know how to drive. I also don't drive really that much. I really don't like drivers. They get all angry and then they don't know how to just remember that the road isn't yours. And anger management, lovely Russell Coates, he explains, like many more, what happens when you begin to get angry, and he uses the example of road rage, and he's like, yeah, people forget that they all can be idiots. And that's, by the way, the self-righteous contemptuous baton. So when someone's projection is coming from that which was their childhood, and it all the time, I mean, come on, really? So the 4D collective of mystics, the only difference is they assumed a new position. The ones who want to play that they can help you be better when they are not better themselves, their confidence is eroded, and they think of wedding bells after fucking versus, no, you're trash now, woman, don't you know? The bad men tell us all about that one. Oh, remember, polyamory are whores and masochists, and so we are bountiful, are we? That's why words, they don't mean much to those of us who realize the ones who want to use them so much don't seem to understand, who are you? Come again, what's your name? Do you have a child inside of you by any chance that wants to come out and play? Because if you don't, really, I mean, I know I've seen the movies. You know which movie I'm thinking about? Anybody watch the Gremlins? I think that was the only scary movie I watched, and I stopped. I can't watch scary movies. Well, probably could if I wanted to now, but no, my nervous system doesn't want to. But anyways, the show, they would turn into little monstrous things at night, and they were scared by cats. I love cats, and I remember that I didn't want to watch that show. I remember for at least 2, if not 3 nights, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking they were going to come out of the wall and eat me, and I'm like, where's my cat? Come in, cat. I had a cat when I was a kid, so luckily for me, I was protected. This was not funny. People laugh. I'm still a child, I'm telling you. So be yourself. Your child parts, they're all whole, and when people want to get that, that's great. If they don't, they're not half safe to those of us who are ourselves. They're people. So we accept, love, and respect all equally, because again, you don't turn your back on anyone, and that's why our oversoul grows like mine has, because it's not nice to say no to a person who's treated like a little piece of shit. All you're going to do is hug them, and then you can easily establish healthy. All of it is, I didn't do anything. He's a stranger, okay? I'm just saying. So you don't have an issue talking to people. Healthy boundaries. We don't even use the word. It's pretty straightforward, because a self-empowered, enlightening, mystic, spiritual, mindful, living, loving person, or a science human being who's self-empowered and enlightening, it's not like a big deal. It's not personal. And so people who don't want to welcome themselves, it's not easy for that noticing. I'm going to say it's not about easy or not. It's, are you struggling with advice that you actually know is good advice, and therefore you're really just not wanting to do what is right for you because you prefer, like that avoidant who says she's not going to heal because people are fucked up, to make up a story for why you're going to stay in a shitty ass body with self-loathing, gut wrench, torn apart. This is one of the things. It's not a monster, and I'm not pitying people, because if you are making it that clear that you have objection, rejection, a story, and a story, and another story for everything that's showing, you clearly are not a body that's connected. So you're not being yourself, but then again, you're going to go get advice from everyone who says don't be yourself, who tells you that the modern day therapy, that's what I've seen. Like YouTube has so many of them. I do get it. I know teenagers like to have a spotlight, so they like to all hang out like the flat earthers. And then again, I keep on forgetting. We have soul age groups. I was telling a friend of mine that. I said, look, don't worry, cosmic karmic balancing, everything's going to be fine. And remember, it always comes back to bite you in the ass. I saw cosmic karmic balancing take place, and I shared this with a friend. I'll just end it with this. And when it did, I was very sad and very afraid and very worried. And then I was able to be not afraid, not worried, reassured, and happy. And so all I'm going to say, though, is those who are not in that which is their spiritual enlightenment for real, they will in fact not know what I just told you. This person that I was sharing the story with did understand, because when you're connected to God, Akash Source, in the way of what is knowingness from here, you know exactly why it's going to be okay, because it doesn't ever do anyone any good to do that which is a lower frequency at this point, is what I'm going to bring it to you. Since our planet is 5D and above frequency, it doesn't match the planet's frequency. So this is where it's not a proof, it's not an explanation in any way, shape, or form, but it's the spiritual part that I'm going to allow myself to just let you know. Yeah, the ignorance and the low frequency people, it's not any more part of the times. We are conscious beings who are living a conscious human, unlimited life, and we're moving more and more towards that heart wisdom, because that's exactly what being yourself with all your child parts, because you know them and you're not playing shadow on a screen. So you're not bringing forth any of trauma charges in a screen. The ones who are doing it that way, they're connecting through those pain points, and so we're going to see them. They're not doing any kind of crime. We got laws. So people, they always have come together with their in and out group. 14-month-olds, they will connect based on a pain point. They will drag that pain point around. They will tell us why they're right, and they're going to keep doing it. And we're going to say, wave them like you just don't care. Hey, Pinocchio, we're going to go over there. We're on the shame-free island. Yep, we're dancing. Yep, you're doing great. Thanks for the golden nuggets. We'll see you later, alligators. Cheerio. Because, at the end of the day, they're all cut off from Purusha Prakriti. They're in the Mayan land or whatever that one. There's a person who talked about these actual very, very uninteresting, not docuseries. I forget how it's called, but basically it's in the land of the illusion. Okay, so when spiritual bypassers take stories and then they're just using them, what I'm going to let you know is they don't have a prefrontal cortex. So you notice that they're in pseudo-aliveness. You notice that they're so pseudo-alive that they think 4D never existed, that we skipped it. It's because they're in it. And then they continue to be cut off from Purusha Prakriti. So Purusha, pure consciousness, which is Shiva, your masculine element. Prakriti, the feminine energy element, and it's also Shakti. And then, as I'm giving you Maria's explanation, so you own your child, your 3-year-old, your 1-year-old, your brain is yours, you got a prefrontal, you're cool with unknown, and that's why, where's Resh? I need Resh. So you have no fear of light or darkness because you're using your human secondary consciousness right here. My brain's always noticing, and when I got porcupines, it's okay because I know this is the lovely expanding throat chakra. And then, well, for me, luckily, I got my lovely Jesus. He's always at my side. God is too. Buddha and I make fun of Buddha. He makes fun of me. And there you go. And we're good company. But the point is, human secondary consciousness. It's called, you have a human condition, not a dilemma. An open-minded inquiry. You say, do I have meaning? What motivates me when I wake up? I breathed. My loved ones are here. Oh my gosh, I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm alive. And that's actually why you cherish every day profoundly, which is why an empowered feminine will only get irritated by those who waste our time. And that's why God reminds me, Maria, don't judge your brothers and sisters of human suffering. A waste of your fucking time. I won't, God. I learned. I'm still learning how to be completely detached in a very heartwarming way. So we accept and welcome that everybody gets to choose. That's the free will that God talks about, and all the spiritual ones, that we don't break. The not empowered feminines, that's where they think that they apparently are the way that you're going to get to be illuminated. Anytime you hear anyone who's spiritual, mystic, or from one group that tells you it's thanks to me that you'll get to God, no, or Akash or Source, it's not thanks to me. I am but a bystander and a choice point for you. You get to choose if you want to be love. And look, we have a Rambo type. So we know that there's plenty who have had their healing take place. And so there's no monsters. There's just Gargamel still in the corner. Smurfs attack! Care Bears attack! And although this doesn't make it better for, I know, again, the spiritual ones that I talk to, they're still sad. I'm saddened too. The innocence that's getting stripped and ripped away from kids, but that's an explanation for why we have murderers. And so when people want to tell me that the world is mean, I just think, yeah, okay, yep, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm faking it. I'm faking all of it. Yeah, cool. I'm going to go now. Bye. And I don't do it this way because otherwise they'd notice it way too much. But my point is, I don't listen to buffoons because buffoons don't know what luminous warriors know. I know how to use my body. I know how to use my heart. I've never walked one day in anybody's shoes, and neuroscience and neurobiology proves that the body is the first place to start. And so when I got people who are needing to be in this since their first days, I got Pinocchio's Island with people who weren't even in those situations. Can you imagine? I have people who are on Pinocchio's Island, unhealthy, alcoholics, drug addicts, sex addicts probably, inner critic, outer critic, just all these things that are so important, and yet they walk streets with millions in their pockets, and they continue to do so, successfully might I add. So they continue to manifest, and in the meantime, they want to say, you, fake smile. Yeah, I fake smile all the time. All the time I'm faking it. You're boring. Yes, I'm very boring. I am so boring, it's not even funny how boring I am. And this is the song that doesn't end. So this is where, for my lovely listeners, it's been a while. I have some plans. I miss only doing the audio podcast, because that way I can just focus on the cards around me, not on the screen. So in the meantime, thanks for stopping by. Again, we will be back with more, and have a good one.